And we're live. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Closer Show.
This shit right here is staying right here all year. But
This shouldn't be stressful at all. I want that 2,500 just because he wouldn't give it to me.
G's private stock lead, motherfuckers. Let's go.
What is going on, everybody? I'm so glad to be back on the live today because you guys know I've been slacking. I haven't been here very much. So before I do anything else, I want to introduce myself. My name is Liam Benson. I am your gracious host today. I'm so excited to be with you guys. And the other thing I want to do is I want you guys to know whose YouTube channel this is. What is iSpeed to Lead? What do we do? I mean, in the short and sweet, we generate the very best leads in all the real estate space, and we put them on a platform that's changed the marketplace completely. Think of the platform like Amazon. You can hop on there. We've got all the leads listed for you, ready to go. You buy them if you like them. That's it. You can see information about them. I mean, here, check this out. Check this out. You see how beautiful this platform is? We spent so much money on research and development costs. So you can just come here and see, look at this. Cusseta, Georgia. Death in the family. It's mobile home on owned land. It's vacant. They've owned the property. There's no mortgage. It's not listed. And we've got these all over pretty much everywhere. Holly Hill, Florida. Doesn't matter. We got them. So that's what the platform is. That's what the platform is. That's who I am. And without further ado, I want to get into the main topic of what we're doing today, which is talking about how to track your numbers as a wholesaler. Now, I'm going to be moving through this at a quick pace because let's be real. I'm talking about data and I'm going to be talking about systems. And you guys have short attention spans. I'm going to lose you guys if I just start droning on and on. I have so much knowledge on this. It is scary. So if you get me going, I will keep going. I will definitely give you more information than you could ever find useful. But I'm going to be covering two main phases that are going to be useful to you. The first part is going to be data, what to track, how to track it, those sort of things. The second thing is going to be systems. Hang on, I'm getting messages right now. All right, I'm closing out of the messages. The second thing is going to be systems. And this is going to be what systems you need to have, how to start building your systems out, because these are going to be your SOPs, your standard operating procedures, which all businesses need to have. So I'll be telling you exactly how to start building those out. And we've got some resources for you. So before I start diving into those things, check out the description below. And I've got three main resources for you. The first one is going to be a free PDF for you guys. And inside of that is going to be a checklist. It's going to be a checklist for all the different types of data that you might need to track. And it's also going to be a checklist for all the systems that you absolutely need to have. In fact, it's a score sheet. So when you go through it, give yourself a score and see how you do. Stack your business up and give yourself an accurate representation of where you stand. And if it's bad, that's okay, because everybody starts somewhere. So that is down below. Also down below, inside of that same link, is going to be this super excellent KPI tracker that we've built. Now, the PDF is free. The KPI tracker had dozens of hours of development on it, and that one is not free. That one is very, very valuable. It's for cold calling specifically, and it'll track everything that you would ever want to track to run an effective business. So that is also there for you guys. And the third thing that we've got for you guys is we have our community where we hold accountability calls every single day, every morning, every evening. We hold trainings every single week. We have thousands of people in there. I think we're approaching 4,000 people in there. And you guys want to be a part of the movement. It's a really fun spot to be in. So that link is also in the description, and you guys should check it out. So the rundown for this is I'm going to go for about 30 minutes today. 15 minutes on data, 15 minutes on systems. While I'm going through this, you guys are going to have questions. I promise you're going to have questions. If you don't have questions, you're doing this wrong. So I want you to get out a pen and paper here because this is going to be a dense thing. This is not just going to be me waffling, trying to do whatever and sell you guys shit. No, I'm here just giving you some actual straight value for 30 minutes. That's it. So get out a pen and paper, take down notes for what you find important. And when you have a question, do not hesitate to put it in the comments because I will get to it and I will answer it towards the end. So I'm going to go through and we're just going to have an open form Q&A. So So that way we can break through and break stuff down at a more granular level, help you guys understand maybe some stuff that you missed. But without further ado, let's dive in. So the very first thing we're covering is data. Now, the reason we're covering data before systems is because data is the backbone to your systems. Without data, you can't really have systems. So a lot of people know they need to track their data, but what they don't really understand is why they need to track it, or what the data is for, or what data to track. So the first thing we've got to cover is what the principles of tracking your data are. We got to understand what data does for us. So the way that you should envision data is, or I'll tell this for all you guys who are parents, you guys will probably understand this. Imagine you have a kid who goes out and they're playing with the other neighborhood kids, and then they come back that evening for dinner and they're hurt. They're injured. There's something wrong with them. But when you ask them what's wrong, all they say is, it hurts. It hurts. It hurts. It hurts. But they're not telling you where it hurts or what hurts or how bad it hurts. You're like, what the fuck is this? I mean, I can't help you, kid. You're not giving me much to go on, but you're scaring me. I'll tell you that much. That's most of your guys' businesses right now. You guys have a business that's probably hurting. There's going to be stuff that's messed up in it, but you don't know how to fix it. You don't know how to improve it. You don't know where to actually dive in. That's the role that data plays. Data will come in and play the role of the information that you as a surgeon can come in and adapt to. That data is going to be giving you the information so that you can find spots to improve, find things that are broken so that you can fix them. But without it, you can't do that. Now, one thing that I always advise people against is against making emotionally driven decisions. You want to be making data-driven decisions. But what people don't realize is that if they don't have data, the only types of decisions you possibly can make are emotional decisions. That's it. You cannot make data-driven decisions without having the data. If you proceed any of the changes you make within your business with, I think that XYZ, or I feel that XYZ, you are making an emotionally driven decision. And while emotions are helpful to us in so many ways, they're not helpful in making excellent business decisions. You have to be unbiased and unemotional when making those decisions, because sometimes you may not like the outcome, or you might not like the decision that has to be made. And if that's the case, if you're getting your emotions involved, you're going to skew towards another way. So we have to be basing it off of data, which is why we need to collect the data. So I'm going to take a sip of water because my mouth's getting dry. And we only drink the best, guys. Voss artesian water. Get on it. I don't know if it's better for you. I doubt it. But it makes me feel better. I'll tell you that much. Okay. So the first thing that your data needs to be is accessible. Now, what does that mean? Accessibility is the ability to go in and view the data. It's the ability to share the data. It's the ability to properly read the data and actually use it. Imagine, let's say that you have a really excellent data tracking operation. Let's say that you are able to go in and see every single data point, or rather you're collecting every single data point, but you don't have the ability to see it. What's the point? There is no point. You're doing all this work, collecting all this data for literally no return. There is no return on that. You can't get a return unless you can view the data. So that's the first thing that your data needs to be, is actually accessible. Now, I'll give you guys a secret. A lot of people just try and overcomplexify it. You guys think up these giant, massive things and you try and create these super complex solutions. It doesn't need to be that. Now, at a high level, your data will eventually get to a spot where it's going to be complex and high level. But guess what? You will have built up high-level systems along the way to make sure that you're properly able to utilize your data. Baby steps. You start by walking before you run. You're just going to start at that small space. That's the first thing. It needs to be accessible. You need to be able to view it. Now, the second thing that your data needs to be is it needs to be accurate. If you're tracking incorrect data or you're tracking the wrong data, what's going to end up happening is when you're making these data-driven decisions, you're going to be making the wrong decisions because that data is wrong. You know, imagine now this kid who's telling you it hurts. Now they have some information. You're saying it hurts in my leg. My leg hurts really bad. Now you go to the doctor and they do, maybe they do an x-ray or they're doing the thing, they're tapping the knee and there's nothing wrong with the leg. You know, they're pressing on it, trying to see if there's some, it's fine. Now you guys are, the doctor's like, I don't know what's going on. You guys seem to be good to go here. And, he pats the kid on the arm and the kid goes, ow, my leg. Well, okay, you had the wrong body part. It was your arm. Your arm hurt, kid. That's what happens if your data isn't accurate. You're going to get the wrong information, and then you're going to start getting the wrong solution or no solution at all. Now, here's a really real situation, because this will help you understand actually how the data is going to be giving you the insights into your business. Let's say you've been doing cold calling for 6 months, and it's going really well. And now all of a sudden this month, you've got 0 deals from it, 0 leads from it. You don't know what's going on. Now, what you got to do is look at the data. So you go in and you say, okay, we've made $55,000 this month. So that seems to be good. Okay. But now look at this, the contact rate. The number of contacts that we have, the number of people we spoke to was 2 people out of $55,000. What is up with that? This contact rate is really, really low. Now you can start to find solutions and put those into play. That solution might be, hey, you know what? Our phone number is marked as spam. So we're coming across as spam. Nobody's answering the phone. Maybe it might be that your dialer is broken. The system's actually broken. It's sending these calls out, and it was doing it for the first day. You got the first 2, and then it said it was dialing, but it wasn't actually dialing. That's another thing that could happen. But you can't start to understand those problems unless you have the data to start finding those. So that's a really real thing right there. So your data needs to be accessible and accurate. And third, your data needs to provide insights. So this is going to come down to tracking the right types of data. If you're tracking the wrong data, it won't give you insights, and therefore you won't be able to grow your business with it, Imagine you're running a wholesaling business and you're not tracking the number of dials you're making, but you're tracking the number of hours your employees spend on lunch. Okay, I guess it might help you a little bit, but it's not going to be the main thing to move the needle. I'll tell you that, it will not move the needle. So if your data isn't the type of data that'll provide you insights, then it's not going to be helpful to you in the short term, the long term, at any point in time. So those are the 3 main things that your data needs to be: accessible, accurate, and provide you insights. So now that we have the baseline foundation covered for the data, let's start getting a little bit more nitty gritty. Let's start covering what types of data to track and how to track your data. One of the largest red flags I see in any wholesaling business, or really any business I've seen, is not siloing your data. Now, what do I mean by that? Now, if you guys know what a farm is, you might know what a silo is. And a silo is a big tower where one type of grain goes into. The silo, unless you're selling them together mixed, you're not going to put your corn and wheat and barley and all this inside of one silo, because maybe they got, different control temperatures and different things and different humidity levels that you got to keep. So you got to make sure that you're keeping your data in separate silos. And this is something that I bet you, those of you listening right now, you guys are probably making this mistake on. I almost guarantee it. You guys are coming in and you guys are putting all your data in one spot. So a really, really common situation is this right here. You go out and you get a list skip traced. You go and buy this list. And however you're marketing to it, maybe you're doing mass SMS. Maybe you're doing cold calling. Maybe you're just doing, I don't know, maybe you're going and door knocking, or you're doing mailers. But then once these leads identify themselves out of the list, so you find somebody who says, yeah, I'm interested in an offer. They're a lead now. Now you don't put them in a different system. You keep them in the same spot. I see it happen all the time. And this is going to cause you to absolutely fuck your shit up. I mean, really, really hugely. Because think of it. Every type of data you have is going to have different data points that you're tracking on it. And if you have all of your data in one system, it means you just have one type of data and you have like a billion different points on it. That gets different. That's very difficult to track. Unless you're a really excellent data analysis person or data engineer, it's going to be really difficult for you to track that. You have to be able to keep these in separate silos. And we'll get into those in a moment, what those separate silos should be. But that's the main point I need to hammer across to here, is your data has to be in separate silos. Do not keep all your stuff under the same database or same system, whatever you're doing. Your marketing data needs to be separate from your other stuff. The contracts that you have signed and you're looking to dispo needs to be separate from your from your lists that you've pulled and skip traced. If you keep those all in the same spot, it's just going to lead to you having all types of issues. And you're not going to be able, it's going to completely remove the accessibility and insight portion of your data. Because it's going to be impossible to read. It's going to be impossible to sift through. It's not going to be useful to you, even if you have everything. All right. So what are going to be the main systems of data that we want to track? Well, the very first thing that we want to do is understand the silos. And we want to break these down into what we call the macro systems, the big systems. We have the micro systems and the macro systems. The three macro systems inside of wholesaling is your marketing, your sales, and your exit. That is it. Those are the three main systems that you need to have. So we need to track data for those three systems. Now, let's explain the goal of each of these systems. The marketing, the goal is to get people who are interested in a cash offer. Those are leads. Your marketing will deliver leads to you. Then you have your sales. Your sales, the goal is to take those leads and turn those into contracts. That's it. Now, once you have those contracts, the goal of your exit strategy is to turn those contracts into money. So now that we understand the goals of each of these processes and systems, what are the data points that we should probably be tracking? Or rather, how do we visualize how we're tracking this or how we're building it? So for you guys, what you need to do is build your systems from front to back. Because what you're going to realize is as you start to set up your data systems, you're going to see there's going to be pathways drawn through them from the start to end. So let's say at the very end, you're tracking how much you're making on average per assignment. What you want to understand is, well, what's my cost per deal? Because now you know if you're getting an actual ROI. And if your cost per deal is higher than your assignment, well, you're not making any money. The thing is, we can't understand what our cost per deal is if we're not tracking how much our marketing costs on the front end. Even if we're tracking how much we're making on the back end, we can't get that information without having that front end. But then you're going to see there's this pathway tied through on this data, that it goes all the way from marketing. It follows the life of this prospect, from prospect to lead to contract to close deal. And you're going to be able to have these threads that go through your business. But in order to have those threads, they need to have a starting point. They're always going to have an ending point. Think about that. It'll always have an ending point, but it needs to have the proper starting point so you can track it. So that means you have to start on the front end. The first thing that you have to do is get your marketing data under control. Once you get your marketing data under control, then it makes sense to look at your sales data and then your exit data. So you go from front to middle to back. Now, the same thing goes, honestly, this can be said about just wholesaling in general. A lot of people, they start trying to go and find buyers first. Horrible plan. What's the point of going and finding 1 billion buyers? What if I had every single buyer on planet Earth and they knew me personally and every one of them loved me and wanted to buy deals from me and we had a great relationship, but I had no deals to bring them? What's the point? There is no point. It's not helpful to me. You got to have deals first. The deals are what's important in the business. There's no point in finding buyers first. Same thing, there's no point in going and trying to get a really excellent data solution for your exit strategy before you have really good data solution on your marketing. Because every lead that you close on will have been marketed to at some point. Not every lead that you market to is going to be closed. So we got to be tracking the data from the front, middle to back. So that's the first thing, marketing first. So now when we're looking at, let's break down marketing. What is, and by the way, guys, the link down below, liambclosing.com/system, there's a free PDF that has all the different data points that you need to track, and it has all the different systems that you're going to need to build. Now, it can get more granular than that. That's a bit more broad spectrum because I need it to be applicable to everybody, but that is down there. Make sure you guys get that so that way you guys can actually see what you need. So that's going to be much more granular than even this here. Now, breaking down the data, or rather the marketing. How do we decide what it is that we're tracking? Well, we could start at the very end and we could just say, hey, you know what? I'm going to track the number of leads I generate. Now, you could do that, yeah. However, how do we know how much each one costs? How do we know what place it came from? How do we know how much effort came into producing it? It's tough. So the same way that you track your macro systems, the macro data from marketing to sales to exit. You have to be tracking the micro from front to middle to back. So what you have to be tracking first is the lowest granular activity going on in the business. So that way you can drive all other results based off of it. So if you're doing cold calling, what that is going to be your dials. How many dials you're actually making. Because that's just a pure volume thing. That's the first thing that exists, is the amount of calls that you're making. If you're tracking your dials, you can start to track your other stuff. You can track how many contacts you had, how many homeowners you spoke to. You can track how many leads you generated. You can track how long you spent on the phone. You can track, if you're tracking how long you spent on the phone and you have somebody you're paying hourly, you can now understand how much you paid this person. You can see how much you paid per lead, per contact, how much each dial costs. And now you can really start to actually get information that's going to be useful to you. Now, when you guys are looking at what system do I want to track the data in, it's simple. Just use Google Sheets. You don't need a really high-level enterprise solution. Just going in, using Google Sheets, that's going to be more than enough for you guys for the time being. But the principle is going to apply no matter what system that you're inside of. You start on the marketing, then you go to sales, then you go to exit. And inside of those, you start at the front end, then you go to the middle, then to the back. So for marketing, let's say it's going to be mass SMS. You're going to be starting at the number of texts you send. Then you're going to be tracking the number of responses you get. Then you're going to be tracking the number of leads. You see, the exact same thing. You're going to be tracking the cost per SMS. Now you can start to understand, okay, if it takes me 1,000 texts to get a lead, and each text costs me a cent, that's what, $10? $10 a lead? Okay, cool. Now I understand what my cost per lead is. And now inside of your sales systems, we're tracking how many leads it takes to get to a contract. So you're going to track the number of leads, the number of contracts. Now you also want to be tracking the number of contacts, how many times you speak to the person, how many attempts, how many times you tried to speak to the person. Now you can really start to understand what's moving the needle in your business. You can see, oh, look, if I'm hitting people 15 times instead of once, they're significantly more likely to sign a contract with me. You can start to derive that. But you can now, from the data, from the marketing to the sales, you can now track, okay, I sent 1,000 texts. I got 5 leads. Each lead cost me $10, $50 a lead. And it takes me, $50 here to get these 5 leads. And it takes me 20 leads to close, whatever. So it's $200 cost per deal. That's really good. If you're making, thousands of dollars wholesaling, shit, yeah. It's a crazy ROI. I will do that every single day. You see, that's where those threads start to form. And you're going to go from marketing to sales to exit, marketing, sales, exit, marketing, sales, exit. You're tracking them all the way through. And your stuff starts to come to life. It's going to come alive. And that's where you're going to be really, really rolling. So you're going to track the most granular piece of data first in each of those. The largest quantifiable thing, the thing that's moving the needle. And then you're going to track stuff based on the results of that. So dials, contacts, leads. Leads, contacts, contracts. Contracts, investors interested, assigned deals, profit. So you're going to be moving through those. So that is going to be the main rundown here and how you should be looking at building out your data systems. The rundown here I'll give you again is silo your data out. You don't want your stuff in the exact same system or spreadsheet or database. So if you have a list of prospects that you've gone and skip traced, when you generate a lead, put that shit in a different spot. Like literally remove it. You want to delete it from that prospect list so you're not hitting it still. And you want to put it inside of your CRM. And also, by the way, another note, if you have a CRM, your CRM is not for prospects. If you have a CRM, it is not for prospects. I know a lot of you guys are using a system called REI Reply. Listen, I think they're cool, but they give you some fucked up information, which is they say, hey, upload this giant list of people you're going to mass SMS, and then also keep your leads in here. Horrible plan. Don't do it. Don't do it. Stay away from that. That's going to mess you up. Do not do that. I will literally come and physically chop your nuts off if you do that, okay? That will mess you up. Long term, it's very difficult to scale, because that's what we're looking at here is how do we build a system, a business that's scalable. So we're siloing our data out. We're not keeping it in the same spot. Then we're going to be building our data systems from front to back. We're not starting in the back and then moving to the front. We're starting in the front and moving to the back. Marketing, sales, exit. Marketing, sales, exit. You see? Marketing, sales, exit. You guys got to have that locked in by now. I really hope. Now that we understand how we're building the data systems from a macro perspective, when we're going in and building each of the data systems for those systems, we're going to be doing the most granular and building on top of those. What you're doing is setting your foundation and building on top of it, and then building a new foundation and on top of that. And by the way, if you're running paid ads, the very first thing is going to be impressions. How many people's eyeballs are our ads viewing? Then we're going to be looking at the click-through rate. Then we're going to be looking at the conversions converted to a lead. You see, we're going to be tracking. If you understand what the cost per click is, so how what each of those clicks cost, then you can understand based on the conversion what your cost per lead is. Now, when you're tracking the data through your sales process, you can understand what your cost per deal is. Then in the exit strategy, you can understand what your cost per close is. Then with your cost per close, you can determine if you have an ROI. And your ROI is if your profit is higher than your cost per deal, you're making money. If your cost per deal is higher than your profit, you're losing money. Simple. But you see how that works? You have these threads that just follow through your data, and they go from start to finish. Now, just some other kind of notes here that I think might be important to you guys is when you're looking at tracking your data, in each of the systems, you want to have similar data points, which means like in my marketing system, the records, I want them to be uniform because that makes it very easy for me to track. So I'll have the prospect ID or name or however I kind of want to be able to search through the system. Names are just fine. Addresses work. Phone numbers also work. Just some unique identifier to this prospect that I can search for. So that way I can search for this across my marketing, my sales, and my exit and see it through and through. But also for all the data points, I want them all to be the same. Now the actual values inside of them, I don't want to, but I want to be tracking the same stuff. So for every prospect, I want to be tracking dials. I want to be tracking contacts. I want to be tracking. So all these things have to be the same because that way you have uniform data. Now you can actually start to get results out of it. A mistake that people make is like trying to have two separate or multiple separate different types of data, like having, information about the first contact and the second contact, having those as kind of separate records or input things. But there's a lot of ways you guys can kind of make little mistakes that'll mess things up to you. But what you want to make sure is that inside of each of these systems, that data is uniform. That's where it's going to be really easy for people to come in and help you in analyze your data. If your data is really poor, then like I said, your data needs to be accurate. It needs to be accessible. It needs to provide insights. All right, I'm talking a lot. My mouth's getting dry. I'm going to read some questions now, and then I'm going to dive into systems. Iman says, a little late, but didn't want to miss this. My friend, this is all recorded and live. It's going to be uploaded again later, so you can come back and watch this as many times as you want. Roger says, chop your nuts up. Yep. Iman says, only migrating true qualified leads to CRM. Interesting. Absolutely. Absolutely. That should be your probably biggest takeaway from this. When your database is only qualified leads. And now, by the way, here's a really good note. So a lot of people that go out and they hire cold callers to work for them. Can you show us how to use Google Sheets to track the data? You know what? I'll do a little rundown. I will absolutely do a little rundown. Why don't we? I'll do that after I go through the system. So just stay tuned for that. I'll do that right at the end. But on this point here, only tracking true qualified leads in the CRM. Yeah. What was I on? If you hire cold callers, or even if you're doing cold calling, understanding exactly what a lead is. Because a lot of people I see, they complain about their cold callers and say they're sending me shitty leads. Okay, here's the thing. Your cold callers aren't meant to send you good leads. Realistically, no system is really meant to send you good leads. They're meant to send you leads. And then your sales process should be the process which will weed out shitty leads from the good leads and work the good leads harder and let those bad leads fall by the wayside. Your sales process should do that. That shouldn't be segmented out on the marketing process. If your marketing process is generating leads, it's effective. So if you're having cold callers that are doing the work for you, do not get too granular with them and say, hey, this lead was bad. Don't send me this type of stuff in the future. This was bad. This was bad. This was bad. No. Your sales process should be able to incorporate that. A lead is simply somebody who says, I'm interested in an offer. That's it. Or any version of that. I'm interested in an offer on my home. They're the owner. They want an offer. Now, it doesn't matter if they want to sell today, in a month, in a year. If they want an offer and there's a level of interest, that is a lead. Don't worry about any other quality points. So that's what a qualified lead is. Some people they think that they need to have a super qualified thing to push in. No, that's not the case. We just need somebody who is interested in an offer. That's it. That's what a lead is. Okay. Michael says, I've been using a system that keeps all the data in one spot, and it does make it a little more difficult to track. So if you think it's difficult now, when you really start to scale, it gets tougher and tougher and tougher and tougher. I have a coach that insists on finding the buyers first and then the deal. I don't particularly like that format. Deals themselves. Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. If you have a solid deal, it's going to move. I've never not moved a deal when it was a good deal. The only times I've had trouble moving deals is if they're bad deals. That's it. If it's a bad deal, it won't move. But yeah, going and trying to find buyers first it's like going and buying the ring before you've asked her to be your girlfriend. Plus, depending on how you go about it, it can be a good way to kind of mess up relationships with investors. Because here's my theory and how I approach business and life in general to move in the ways that I want to move. I lead with value. That's my goal. Look at this. I'm doing this live stream on a Tuesday, and I put a fucking ton of time into making sure that the PDF for this was excellent and the website looked great, and we built this excellent KPI tracker, a bunch of stuff into making sure that this was really, really good. Leading with value. Same thing with an investor. If I call an investor and say, hey, man, you looking to buy? Because, I might have deals in the future. Okay. He's like, yeah, I guess. But it's not really providing him value. It's not helpful to him. But you come to him with a really, or her, I'm sorry, we don't want to be biased here. You come to them with a really excellent deal and say, hey, you want to buy this? Look at that. There's value provided immediately. They're looking for deals. You have an excellent deal. Look at that. You've just provided value. You've built a relationship. That's something that you can stand on and do future business with. That's what you want to do. But yeah, it makes no sense to me why you'd want to go and find buyers first before finding deals. Because realistically, too, finding the deal is going to be the significantly more difficult part of the business. That takes a lot more effort. People massively underestimate the volume that it takes to get a deal done. I mean, massively, massively, massively underestimate it. Okay, so that is it right now for data. If you guys have questions, ask them. I'm going to start moving on now. Next up is going to be systems. So, what the fuck are systems? Everybody hears the name systems. Everybody talks about systems. What is a system? A system is a documented process. That's it. It's something that you've documented and works and is repeatable. The reason why you want systems is because you don't want to freestyle it every single time. When you have a system that's repeatable, not only do you have a really reasonable idea to believe that it's going to work again, but it allows you to scale. So here's a tidbit of information. When you guys are beginning to hire employees into your business, if you don't have systems prepared for them to take over in their role, they are going to be left to their own devices. And realistically, guys, the level of talent that you guys are likely to be hiring at this stage of your wholesaling game, unless you have a really, really robust business, in which case you're going to have systems. But if you're not in that spot, the level of talent that you're going to have available to you, they're going to be C players, maybe some B players. You're really not going to be finding A players because realistically you can't afford them, nor is your opportunity big enough for them to be interested in. So understanding that we have these C players, how do we bring them up to B players? How do we bring B players to A players? Or even C players to A players? By having really good systems for them to use. So hiring a cold caller is usually people's first thing that they're looking at. Now, when they're looking at hiring a cold caller, they're like, okay, cool. I'm just going to hire this person. They're going to make dials simple. No, it's not quite that simple. You want to have a system for them to follow. Once they have a system, now they can come in and follow that system. That's it. They don't have to worry about all the extra stuff. They follow the system and the results will be there for them. So for all the hires that I make, what I do is every role is a box that we put that hire inside of. And now what we want is for that person to operate in that role for a long enough period where they get the skills and the experience and all this stuff that they begin to push on the sides of these walls. And eventually they're going to be compressed in this box that I've put them in. And that's where we're going to put those walls down and let them start expanding on that role because they're an expert in the role that I created for them. And they need to have something better. They need to have something more. So what happens now is where you start to turn them into a leader. And you say, hey, you've been doing this for a long time. You're really good at this. I want you now to figure out ways to do it better. And if you don't, no worries. But you are free to go and do things in the way in which you might see fit. And what I want you to do is report back to whoever your leadership is, whether it's me or if you have some manager. And I want you to find a way that you think might be more efficient or more effective. Because those are the people that long-term in your company are going to be absolute game changers. The people that are crafty and creative and find ways to do things faster, smarter, better. Those are the people that can move the needle so significantly. Those are the people that you want to keep around because they might be a C or B player now. But that doesn't mean they won't turn into an A player. And if you have them early and you give them the proper guidance and income and opportunity that they want, you're allowed to let them grow in their role. They're going to stay with you a lot longer. But having those systems for them to fall into is going to be so important to making sure they're successful from day one. Okay. So where do we know if a system is necessary? Now, similarly to when we're tracking our data, we have our macro systems and we have our micro systems. So the macro systems are the same. We have our marketing system, our sales system, and we have our exit system. Same exact things. Now, each of those systems is built up of the microsystems. All of those are working. Think of it like a large conveyor belt. Why is McDonald's so effective when the local shop down the street maybe is struggling? Well, because McDonald's has a process for everything. And they make the systems that they're using so simplified and so repeatable that they can hire any level talent and people can come in and do those roles. I mean, listen, I know some smart people that work at McDonald's, but they're not the average person. The average person working at McDonald's is not the brightest, okay? But they're still able to go into that role and be successful, become managers or become store owners, right? Right? You see how it levels people up? Imagine if all those people, listen, even with the systems, sometimes the service gets shitty. Imagine if they had no systems whatsoever. That would be a nightmare, an absolute nightmare. You don't want to have that in your business. So when we're looking at building our systems up, think of it like each of these macro systems is a tower, a skyscraper. And maybe this isn't the best analogy, but each of the floors are then your microsystems that move the data up. And once they reach the top floor, they've graduated from that tower, and now they go next door to the next tower. So they start in the marketing tower, and they start on the very bottom level. And that bottom level is going to be you don't even have them yet. You're going to go and they exist somewhere, and that's where they are, right there. And we're going to go and you're going to skip trace them. You're going to pull the list, and then skip trace them. You're going to load it to your dialer. You see, you're going to start working your way through. And then they're moving up the tower. Eventually, at the very end, you get that, yeah, I'm interested in getting an offer. Now they've graduated from that tower and they move over into the sales tower. So that's how you want to be thinking of your systems. They are machines that are designed to operate and automate things in your business or create efficiencies in your business. What you want is leverage. And leverage is defined as what the input is having a greater output. If we put 1 input, I want 5 output, or 10 output, or 100 output. That's what you want. That's what your systems are going to be capable of doing, providing you leverage. So in your marketing, you're going to be doing that, then in your sales, then in your exit. So let me look at my notes here because I'm kind of getting lost. I'm kind of going in circles. I'm sorry. So how do we determine where that system is going to be necessary? If it's something that you do repeatedly, it's time for a system. If it's something you have to do in the future again and again, it's time for a system. So an example of something you might need a system for is how you're going to be pulling your skip trace lists, or getting your lists and pulling your lists and getting them skip traced. It's something you have to do today. You're going to have to do it again. And if you want to continue your marketing process, you're going to have to keep doing it. So you want to have a process for it. And that process is going to be where we're doing it at, what credit card we're using. You see, you go down the checklist and all of a sudden, boom, look at that. We got our data. I'll get into a little bit in exactly how you should think about building your systems and putting them together, but we'll get to that. So a system is necessary when there's things you have to repeat over and over again. Where a system is not necessary is doing like a one-off thing. Now, I'm very, very system oriented, if you guys couldn't tell. I love systems. I love everything about them. I spend, a ton of time in my day thinking about them and planning them. Even with those in place, sometimes, or with that skill set that I have in place, sometimes I tend to try and over-systematize things. Things that just need to happen once or for a very short period of time, we don't need a system for them, guys. That's sometimes where I make the mistake, and I go and I build a system to do something, fucking once. And it's like, okay, I spent just as much time building the system to do this as doing it. I could have just done it, and we don't need the system again, so what's the point? So that's something that you want to keep in mind. Not everything needs a system, but if it's something that you're going to be doing repeatedly, it's time for a system. So another note I think that's very important is when I'm talking about all this stuff, tracking data, building systems, you guys can start to get in your head that, fuck, there's so much I need to set up. I'm way behind. You guys are going to go down the score sheet and see that like, oh my God, I'm super low on the score sheet. Like, this is horrible. I don't know what the fuck's going on. I have to get all this stuff in check before I can start doing business again. I have to do this before I can wholesale. No. That's not the takeaway I want to have. Having every system and tracking all the data, that's the end goal. That's not where you're starting. But what you want to do is you want to start with something simple. A system is better than the best system that you don't use or that doesn't exist yet. Getting something simple, putting it in play, and then iterating on it, which means going back on it and making it better and better and better, improving it, that's the way that you want to do it. Something I'm a huge fan of is something called the law of aggregate marginal gains. That means getting better in a lot of places a little bit. 1% better across every single field. If you can do that on a consistent basis, eventually you get 1% better in 100 things, you're 100% better. That's how you want to be improving your systems over time. You start with something simple, and you just improve and you improve and you improve. So do not wait to build a perfect system, because here's the thing. Even if you think you build a perfect system, it doesn't exist until it does not exist until you know what you need, which means you have to run it. You have to put data through it. You have to test it. You have to figure out what works in it and what doesn't, and you have to make it better. If you go and spend, a month trying to make a perfect system and then try it, then you find out it doesn't work, you just wasted a month. Start with something simple and then build on it. Start by tracking the most important data and then build on it. You see how that works? We don't need to start with something perfect. We just need to start with something. Something is better than nothing. My favorite saying of all time is, imperfect action will always beat perfect inaction. Even if your system isn't perfect, take action on it. Perfect doesn't even exist. My systems aren't perfect. There's always room for improvement. Same thing in your guys's. Same thing in every business. They stack. They grow. So that's what you want to be doing. So how do we design a process? How do we build a process that's effective? Here's my exact process that I do for it. Step one. Step one is starting at the very end, writing out that goal. So let's say my goal is to generate leads through cold calling. Now, the system is we have our list already. We have our dialer. What's the process from we have our dialer and our list into getting a lead? So that's the end goal. We're going to write it down. I literally, on a pen and paper, or on my iPad rather, I write down this end goal. And what I do is I write down the step that happens before it, then 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 before it. I just go up. So before I get a lead, what do I have to do? Well, I have to talk to them. Okay, so talk to them. Now, before I talk to them, what do I have to do? I have to call them. All right, so I have to do that. Now, before I can call them, I have to start a dialer session. Okay, there's that. Now, before I start the dialer session, I have to make sure that my list is correct and is uploaded. Yeah, there we go. Now, you see how you work that backwards? Now, what you're going to be looking at is this list of things that need to happen, and you can start to combine similar ones together and put them together into a process. Now, what I do is I do what's called process mapping. I use a software called Lucidchart. You can also use a software called Figma, and they have this thing called FigJam boards, which allows you to map stuff out and do process maps. But this is going to be a visual representation of your system. This visual representation is super important because it allows you to get a better grasp of what's going on. And that's where I'm going to map out the first thing that happens to the second thing to maybe a decision tree that if this, then that, then this, and if this happens, and this happens, and this happens. I mean, here, I'll even pull up some of my process maps so you guys can see how I do it. Check this out. Getting them pulled up right now. You guys see this? Yeah. Check this out. See, look at this. Simple process map. When the subphane changes, we wait 25 minutes, then it gets loaded to our immediate dial. We get our follow-up SMS 1. We wait an hour and a half, then they get loaded to the dialer again. Follow-up SMS 2, then they change subphase. So the goal is we want them to change into the next phase. How do we do that? What needs to happen before that? Well, they need to get the second text. No, then they need to get dialed. Then we also have these indicators here, which is if they answer the dial or if they text back, then this workflow ends and it moves on to the next spot. So these are my microsystems. Now you can see my macro system is right here. Check this out. See, look at this. Everything is mapped out. Everything is repeatable. Everything can be done over and over and over and over again. You see how that works? You map out your systems. So now I have it on paper. Then I go and process map it. Then once I've process mapped it, if this is a system that other people have to do on a consistent basis, now I write up my SOP, my standard operating procedure. And what this is going to be just literally a write-up of what needs to happen. By the way, ChatGPT is excellent at writing up your SOPs for you because you got to, add the steps. You just kind of give them a little blurb about what your system is. Say, turn this into an SOP for me. Boom, they do it. And then you can fill in the blanks. And then what I'll do is I'll usually record a little Loom video. And then I'll attach it to that document. And now that is an SOP that can be used time and time and time again. Now, for each of our SOPs, we have a date set on it, which is going to be depending on how used it is, 3 months, 6 months, or 12 months in the future. And then when that date comes due, we take a look at that system, see if it needs to be revamped, see if we need to improve it, see if we need to make it better, see if there's changes that need to be made, if we need to re-record the video, whatever. And then we just have this process of constantly improving our systems over and over and over again. But the process of building systems is so simple. Start at the end, you work your way up. And now the same thing goes, now that's on the micro process, macro process, the same thing. If the end goal of your system is to get a lead, well, before I get a lead, I have to do this and this and this and this. And all of a sudden you have the entire big thing kind of planned out now for each of those bigger things like cold call the leads. Okay, yeah. So we can have that as one big thing, but we can also break that down much smaller. And that's what you can do. You can build that system more granular and have this micro system, this micro process. Now, just a reminder, in the description, there's a free PDF for you guys that'll give you all the different types of data that you need to track, and it'll give you all the main systems that you need to have. Now, again, you can get more granular with that. There's more that you can track, and there's more that you probably should track at a high level, and there's more SOPs that you should have. I had to put the more broad ones in to make sure it's applicable to everybody and that it didn't get too lengthy. So make sure you guys are getting that and going through that. So that's how we're going to be building our systems. You start at the end and work your way up. So, guys, that is pretty much the bulk of what I've had prepared for you today. How to track your data and how to track your systems. Michael says, I'm about to revamp my little business. Dude, it's so much fun to do it too. I think a lot of people get caught up in the weeds of just doing the daily actions, which are very important and the most important thing. But it can be really fun to go in and just make your business better. All right, Kazan says, have you had any experience with a CRM called REI Black Book? That's what we're currently using. Going to schedule a wholesale system audit interview. Okay, so I've never used REI Black Book, but I'd be happy to take a look at it. And just a little note on the system audit interview. That is, oh man, I didn't even explain this at the start of the live stream. I missed that. So a huge thing that we're launching within a very short period of time here is the absolute greatest sales system in all of real estate called Closer OS, Closer Operating System. And it has been my passion and my brainchild for the last almost 16 months now. I've been working on this in the background and just trying to make it better and better and better. And it's finally at a spot where I feel comfortable getting it out into the public. Now, Closer OS is going to be a very exclusive thing because it's extremely, extremely integrated. It builds out custom conversion sites for PPC, custom SEO sites. We're going to be doing the entire CRM build out, which will have every automation. It has infinitely automated lead follow-up. It breaks down each of the roles of your business into specific roles, like I've explained before, so that every role has a specific spot. They have systems operating procedures and systems surrounding them. They have everything is on this roller coaster track towards being highly, highly, highly leveraged and successful. So that's something that's coming out very soon. Now, like I said, it's going to be very exclusive. That's only going to be available to teams that are already doing a fairly decent volume of business. Just because of how integrated it is, it's going to be overkill for a beginner. You want to be able to go in and add leverage. So that's what the system does. Now, in doing research for it, I want to have the opportunity to more intimately understand people's systems and where their main issues are. So in that system audit interview, I'm going to be selecting 2 or 3 candidates in which I will go through and do a full system analysis, map out their systems, and then provide a play-by-play guide on how you should start improving your systems and making them better. That is what is going to be inside of there. So I'm choosing 2 or 3 people for it. Now, that's something that time cost on my end will probably take 4 or 5 days of full days working on it. These are going to be extremely in-depth audits and analysis, and you're going to be getting really excellent reports. I mean, I'm going to be putting my full weight into this and making this happen. It's something that will cost $5,000 just for my time. But if you're at a spot where you're already doing 2, 3, 4 plus deals a month, it makes sense for you because it's going to get you far more than 1 deal a year. I guarantee it. So that's what we're doing. And usually, by the way, this is already something that I do for teams, high-level teams. I usually charge about 10 to 15, depending on the scope of work here. The reason I'm doing it for a lot cheaper is because A, I don't want to have to really try and sell people on it. And B, because I'm using this for market research so that I can understand what people's main problems are. Then you're doing me a solid, I'm doing you a solid. We can meet on price. And so that's what's going on there. That's what that system audit interview is, by the way, just so you guys understand. Okay, so now going back to Kazan, an earlier question that you had, which is, can you show us how to track stuff in Sheets? Absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, what I'll show you first is the KPI tracker that you guys can actually get Again, in that link for the systems, there's an upsell offer to buy the KPI tracker for $37. Now, this is going to be specifically toward cold calling. Okay, it's specifically for cold calling, by the way, just so you know. It comes with a daily KPI tracker. So it's going to be tracking your daily KPIs. And it also comes with a list tracker. And what the list tracker does is it will break your list down into manageable sections. So if you go and you get a large list of like 10,000 records, it breaks it down into manageable chunks. And then it'll allow you, or it'll, based on the data that you then input into it, it will tell you if that section of data is still good to go. And it'll tell you if that list is still good to go. So I'll give you a little rundown on it. And so you can see exactly how it's working. So let me pop on over here and open it up. And we've made it very accessible to everybody. It is literally just in Google Sheets. That's it. Okay. I'm going to share my screen here. I want to make sure you guys can all see it, right? Hang on. Just going to drag you guys over here. Okay. So this is what it looks like. It sits in your Google Drive, in your hub. And when you open it up, this is what it looks like. Now, I probably could have done a little bit of a better job making this more beautiful, but it's about the data, and that's important. It'll show you what you did today. It'll allow you to search between a date range, and then it'll also show you your lifetime stats. Very cool. It'll show you based upon what the goal is set. So the first thing that you do is once you're inside of it, this is what it looks like. Now, this sheet kind of goes against best practices in general for the fact that I'm tracking two types of data in here. You see, I'm tracking lists and I'm tracking daily KPIs. Now, the reason why I'm allowed to do it and you aren't is because I'm really fucking good at it, and we've made this in a way that it still works, okay? We've avoided all pitfalls so it doesn't happen. That's just throwing that out there. You guys shouldn't do that. And I'll show you how you guys should build this on your own, should you want to. So I'll just give you a little rundown here of what it looks like when it's fresh. These will all be clear. So what you first do is you come in, hit this button, set goals. You can see it's going to open this up, enter your name. So this is going to tie it onto the sheet. I'm Liam B. Next, what is your avatar? I'm trying to get my first deal, or I'm trying to get a consistent number of deals monthly. For me, let's say I'm trying to get a consistent number of deals monthly. How many days? Oh, that's the wrong thing. I should say, okay, well, how many days until you want the first deal? Let's just say 30 days. Actually, I'm still going to go with I'm trying to get a consistent number of deals monthly. And this is supposed to say, how many deals do you want to get per month? Let's say we want to get 3 deals per month. Okay. What do you expect your contact rate to be? Average is between 4 and 6% nowadays. Okay. Let's put 5%. What percent of contacts do you think you'll convert into leads? Average is 6 to 10%. Now, this is going to be very skill set and list dependent. Let's just say 8%, right in the middle. Now, what percent of your leads do you think you will close? Beginner is 2%, expert is 5%. Yep, so an expert is going to be closing about 1 in 20. A beginner is about 1 in 50. So let's just say 2.5. Boom. Now this is going to get the data. It's submitting. As long as it didn't break. It might have broken. Who knows? Should have submitted by now. Okay, well, I've got to troubleshoot that on the back end, but that's okay. What it should do is it'll fill up your goals here. So deals per month, 3. Expected contact rate, 5. Expected lead rate, I think I put 8. Expected close rate, 2.5. And it should put percent. Beautiful. Now you can see it'll break down your goals in a very nice way. In fact, I'll zoom in here so you guys can see it. It'll tell you how many dials per day are necessary, how many contacts are necessary per day, and how many leads are necessary per day in order to get your goal of 3 deals a month. If you want 3 deals a month and these are your metrics, you need 1,000 dials a day, 50 contacts a day, and 4 leads per day in order to get this done. So that's excellent. Now, you can see here we have our daily KPI tracking. Now, this is simple. When you're done for the day, you come in and you input how many dials you made today. Let's say I made 500 dials. Now, for the contacts, let's say I made 200 contacts. For leads, let's say I got 10 leads. Let's say my dial time was, this is the amount of time I spent on the phone, 3 hours, 12 minutes, and 12 seconds. Let's say my talk time was 1 hour, 10 minutes, and 5 seconds. Boom. Now what you do, you hit new day on the next day, and it's going to give you another spot to input. And this will go bigger and bigger as much as you want. Let's say you made an accident, whatever. You can hit clear day, it'll delete the day. But now here's where stuff I think is really cool, is the list tracking right over here. The campaign KPI tracking. So let's say so my favorite skip tracing service inside of the real estate space is Kind Skip Tracing. The reason is they have really excellent data. The data is really, really high quality. And they have a really fantastic price, 3 cents a record. Now you're thinking to yourself, that's really cheap. Why is the data's probably going to suck, right? No. And the reason it doesn't is because you have a minimum order size. You have to order a minimum of $300. So with that in mind, they can now pretty much do bulk pricing at cheap is what it is. But that's 10,000 records. That's a ton of fucking records. You don't want to be working through your list of 10,000 records all at once. So what you're going to do is, all right, so we're going to select our data type for this list. And let's say that this was a free and clear list. And I want to break this list down into sections of 750. Actually, my test one is only 1,000 records long, so let's do 400 to display this, right? So now what you do is you hit new campaign, and it's going to run. Are you sure you want to create a new campaign? You hit yes, and it's going to pop up in here in just a moment. You see it's running the script. It'll pop up. Love my boy Josh at Kind Skip Tracing. Yeah, I did too. Dude's a cool guy. And look at this. You see what it's done is it's generated the name for your campaign. So this is now the unique identifier for this campaign that you can track it no matter where you are. I'll zoom in here to make sure you guys can see. Okay? The unique identifier here. It'll show the status of the campaign. It's good, means it's good to go. And it shows you the overall dials on the campaign, the overall contacts, the overall leads generated, the contact rate, and the lead rate. So now you can track that. You see this link? Check this out. It created a separate sheet just for this campaign where you get to come in and track it. So this is what it looks like. Now you see there's stuff that's pre-filled, but there's nothing in here yet. So what we do is we hit this thing, all records, we open this up, we hit file, we hit import, and now we're going to upload a file. So let me go and find my little test records. One moment. Where's it at? There it is. All right. So I'm putting these test records in here. And what we want to do is hit append to current sheet, and we're going to import it. So this is my skip trace list. You see? So I've got 1,000 records in here. Now let's just say it's like 10,000. So now inside of here, what I'm going to do is you see our section size is 400. When I hit launch, it's going to go through, and now it's going to break the sections down for me. So it's going to be ready for me to track data on each section. Isn't that super fucking cool? So it's running. Oh, now the first time you run a script on any sheet, this is going to pop up. Now you just hit continue, hit my account, advanced, and go to, and hit allow. So now you hit launch again, so it's going to run the script again. And you see, it breaks them down. We have a name for each of these lists. We have the name, which is the first individual bit, and section 1, section 2, and section 3. Now you can search through these names, and as you're doing your dials on them, you can track them. Let's say I go through and I do my first dial attempt on this one. By the way, you hit this download button, you see this is the one that's our cursor's on right now. Hit download. Guess what? It is going to just click to download. It's going to download. You guys can't see it, but it just downloaded that this file. which is going to be the first 400 records. So now say I dialed through, I made 400 records, I made, 50 contacts, and I got 10 leads. Cool. So we have a 12.5% contact rate, 20% lead rate. Then it's going to say, cool, it's good to dial through this campaign again. This data is still good. You see? Good. So I'll dial through it again. Let's say I made, 300 dials, and we only had 2 contacts and 2 leads. Now you see this contact rate dropped way down to 0.7% when it was 12.5% before. It's going to say, yeah, you know what? This data's done. So now it's going to move you to the second section of data. You hit download. Same thing. It's going to download that second section for you. Okay? And the same thing. You're going to go through the second section. And let's just do exact same numbers here. 400, 50, 10. 400, 300, 2, 2. You see, okay, this one's done now. And by the way, this can do up to 5 campaigns for these. Now for the section 3, all right, let's say I made, 100 dials. I got 2, let's say 50 again. And this the second time I called through, we did 50, only got 1 contact and 1 lead. Now you'll see it says done as well. It takes a look at the data and says, yep, this is it. Now all of these say done, and the overall list is done. Back on the main hub, check this out. Check this out. You see? Boom. Done. How many dials? 1,550, 164 contacts, 44 leads, 10.58% contact rate, 26.83% lead rate, averaged out. Ba-boom. Now you're ready for a new campaign. You hit new campaign. Oh, we got to select our data type. Let's just do, these are probates. We hit new. Yes. And it's going to pop a brand new one right up in here. There it is. You see that? Check it out. We have, you see, a unique identifier. Same thing. We can open this up. We now have this here. And you see in the name, it's here. So this is how the spreadsheet works. Now, this is from a very high level, how you're tracking your data. Like literally the highest level. I don't think it gets much higher than this. In terms of actually, on like spreadsheets or for Google Sheets. If you want this, again, the link is in the description for you. Go and get it. It's $37. It'll, it took a ton of fucking time to put this together, so you probably want it. Now, if you're doing it on your own, let's just go to Sheets and let's just make a brand new plain sheet. Let me go to my drive. Let's make a brand new plain sheet. How do we track our data in here? Well, first off, we have to understand what type of data we're tracking. Now, let's consider that this is a prospect list. Okay, so you see the prospect list. Now what I want to have is uniform data for each person. We're going to have our name. We're going to have our address, phone, okay? And this is like the most simple thing we need here. Name, address, phone. That's it. You see, every single person has these 3 data points. Every single person, doesn't matter who. They have these 3 data points. Now, if you're going to be tracking your campaigns, you're going to have the exact same things. I think actually you come back to here, you'll see it's the same stuff. What the type of data is. So this is the campaigns. It has a name, status, a link, number of dials, contacts, leads, contact rate, lead rate. The same data. For your daily KPIs, you have here the date, dials, contacts, leads, dial time, talk time. You see that? And it just gets simplified. How did this get to H? What is this reading? Did I put that in? Uh-oh, I deleted the formula in there. Oops. I didn't mean to do that. Well, I got to figure out what the formula is and put that thing back. But you see, this is how you should be tracking your data. This is how you should be tracking your data. And when you're looking at your systems, this is how you track your systems. You see, the end goal, and you just work your way up. You see, phase 3, and when that happens, these are the things that happen before it. Now, this is a very high level of it, but this is how you're doing it. All right, guys, most of you guys, like I thought, have dipped out because this was just, it was dense stuff. I'm not going to lie. We're talking about data and systems. It's boring when you're talking about it. It's kind of hard to make it super sexy and exciting. But do you guys have any questions for me before I call this live off and say you guys have a beautiful day and I get back to the rest of my day? Any questions, comments? What do you guys have for me? The 5 of you that you're still here to the end, what do you guys have? Like, a little bit of a private consulting session. Ask me questions about your own business. Ask me whatever you want. What I will actually touch on here is for Kazan. I don't have experience. If I buy the spreadsheet, will there be bugs? No, those should all be, that's like this is the template one, or not the template one. This is like the internal one. The template one's a separate copy of this. There shouldn't be any bugs. Okay. I promise that. I'll make sure that, and if there is, they will be fixed. And by the way, if when you get it, you also get all the updates for it for life. And so we'll send out an email saying, hey, there's a new update. Here's the link. So that way you can get the new and improved version. So, but to touch on this question here, have you had any experience with a CRM called REI Black Book? I haven't had experience with that one specifically, but what I'll tell you is the process in which I'm looking, or when I'm looking at CRMs and determining if I like them, there's a couple of things that I want to have. First is going to be ease of use. Is it easy to use and easy to understand? Because the very best CRM is the one that you use. I guarantee you there's probably somebody doing more deals than you using Google Sheets. That's just the facts. So the best CRM is the one that you use. So it has to be easy. It has to be good to use. Second, in a CRM, I want to see automations. Nowadays, with so many CRMs having excellent automation support, if yours doesn't have it, you are so far behind the times. Because automations are going to be extremely important in adding that leverage into your business. An automated task is one that you don't have to do. So that's the second thing. You want to have automations. Third is going to be how scalable is it? Or rather, how customizable is it? I want my CRM to be more customizable, which means I can have customized pipelines, which means that I can have customized information points on my leads so that way I can track things on them. Because at the end of the day, what the main CRM providers, Michael just asked a good question. What the CRM providers do is they provide a blanket thing. And if they try and tell you exactly what you need to too high of a degree, and they don't give you customizability, it doesn't let you fit and mold the thing to your business, right? It's all those things you mentioned, Chip. Yeah, then I would say that's probably a solid one. In fact, I'll do a quick Google search right now and I'll take a look at it. Take a look at it. REI Black Book. Okay. Okay, I'm looking at this and all right, they got the workflows. Very interesting. All right. Contacts. Nice. Nice, nice. Look at the marketing automation here. Okay. Very nice. Excellent. That's one that I would say is probably decent. How much does it cost a month? Pricing. Click on that. $81 a month. Not bad. Growth. $165 a month. One user account, one lead. Okay. Well, here's where. Ooh. Yeah. So here's where I'm not loving it. For $81 a month, one user account. That kind of sucks for that price. One lead capture website. There's also much better out there for the price. One call tracking number, much better there for the price. 500 contacts, there's much better out there for the price. 1,000 email credits, much better out there for the price. 6 cents per local minute. Holy shit, that's really high. That's really, really, really high. And 5 cents per text message? Whoa, that's crazy high. That's crazy, crazy, crazy high. I mean, that's insane. Okay. And that's at the annual, the basic. Okay, so let's do monthly. It's $97 a month for that. Growth, $197, 3 user accounts, 3 lead capture websites, 3 call tracking numbers, 5,000 contacts, 10,000 email credits, 500 local minutes, and 5 cents per additional usage, 500 text messages. That's not enough text messages. 250 ringless voicemails, and the mobile app. And for $297 a month, okay. No, I'm sorry. Based on this pricing, I'm not a fan anymore. The pricing is way too high. There's a system that has all of this and much more called Go High Level for $97 a month. And what it has is, so comparison on the one-to-one $97 a month plan here for REI Black Book, 1 user account, you have unlimited on Go High Level. 1 lead capture website, you have unlimited on Go High Level. 1 call tracking number, you can have as many as you want. It's $1 a month for each line. 500 contacts, unlimited on Go High Level. 1,000 email credits, you're charged per email based upon what is there, or depends on who you're using for what's called your SMTP routing. But it's significantly cheaper, I'll tell you. It's like less than 1/10 of a penny per email, way less. 6 cents per local minute. Let me check the pricing on it right now. Hang on. It is $1.4 a minute compared to 6 cents per minute. So it's 1/4 as much, and 5 cents per text message. It's like text messages are $0.0079 a text. So that's less than a penny. That's 0.8 of a penny. So for the same price, and then for High Level doesn't have a $197 a month plan, but they do have a $297 a month plan. And the $297 a month plan is, so the basic, you get 1 sub account, which means like 1 CRM. And for $297 a month, you get unlimited sub accounts, which means you can have a sub account for your dispositions. So you can have a CRM specifically for your dispositions, for your acquisitions, and you can have it for a bunch of different stuff. So I use High Level. High Level is my CRM of choice, because the way that you should think of High Level is it's like the WordPress of CRMs. It has infinite functionality allowed inside of it, but you have to be the architect to go and build it. Now there's snapshots you can buy for specific stuff. Yeah. Mike, so there's a bunch of CRMs that work off of Go High Level as well with much better pricing. Yep. Now, personally, I wouldn't recommend doing most of the white labels for High Level, because High Level, what you can do is called white label it. Now, no hate against white labels in general, because they can be a good service. They definitely can be a good service. The thing is, I would say for most people, you probably want to go straight to the source and just get an account on High Level yourself, because you get unlimited support. You get all the features. You're getting all the features. There's no features hidden from you, which the white labels can do. You get, there's no limitations on it. There's nothing. And then also, if the company that runs your white label goes out of business, you lose your account. And those are definitely smaller companies. To lose your thing on Go High Level has to go out of business. And they just secured like $60 million in funding last year. So yeah, I would say that's not very likely. So if you want to check out High Level, I do happen to have an affiliate link, which I'll put in the comments here. You get a 2-week free trial just to go and check it out and try it out. And then afterwards, it's just $97 a month. So feel free to check that out. You don't have to use the affiliate link. I just get paid if you do. So your call. But otherwise, I'm a huge, massive fan of High Level. I mean, really, really big fan of High Level. Like, check this out. The site, so if you click down in the description below, the leonbclosing.com/system, that website is built off of a High Level website builder. You use the affiliate link, my guy. I appreciate you. Let's see here. Check this out. Okay. So you see, this website was built off of the high-level website builder. Really high quality. Look at this. It's nice. I'll show you actually on the back end here. This is what, actually, let me make sure I'm not about to give away. How do I? Okay, I'm just going to stop. I don't want to actually give away a whole bunch of my data. So 1 second. Okay, so you can see here, it has an in-house messaging center that works for text messages and emails, and it'll connect to Instagram and Facebook and Google My Business stuff. So this is cool. You can have all your calendars inside of it. So you can set up, like, this is pretty much a Calendly killer is what this is. Of course, you track all your leads inside of here, and you can have custom fields for each one. Okay. You have a custom pipeline tracker. Now, I don't use pipelines inside of this sub account, but you definitely can, and these are really excellent. This is how you can track your leads through their different opportunities. Now, this is if you're selling products. You can put these inside of here. They're not necessary. Now, for marketing, you can have a social planner to schedule social stuff. You can have email campaigns and templates. This is cool. Now, where this gets really cool is the automations. The automations are really, really excellent. So you can see like this here. Or let's do... Somebody fills out that. So we have this thing that's called our accountability calls. People can get reminders that the calls are going on. So they sign up. You see, they get a tag added. They get their opt-in message. Wait a few seconds. Then they're going to get a contact card sent to them. Then they're going to get the file for the contact card. Then they're going to get the day assigned to them depending on what day it is. Then they go into the next thing, which is going to be the actual SMS here, which is, check this out. Look at that. Fucking giant automations. So extremely customizable. $97 a month for this. Now, what you want, if you get the $297, so I hit this drop down and I have all these different sub accounts. Each of these does different things. Each of these is for a different thing. Oh, well. Yeah, each of these does, this is what high level is. That's why I like it. So there's some sauce for you. Hope that was helpful. Okay, now I'm going to go back to some questions before. How do I use ChatGPT to help my business? Now, my recommendation is using ChatGPT like something of an assistant. Using it to do things faster. That is how I would recommend using it. I have some pretty awesome workflows for auto text. Yeah, me too. That's a huge thing that I do within it, is automating my texts. So when you're getting into Google Sheets, ChatGPT is really excellent at writing the formulas for Google Sheets. So you can go and say, hey, write a formula that combines these two things together and does this type of math. It's really excellent at that. It's decent at copywriting. It's not amazing at copywriting, but it certainly can do some copywriting and help you frame stuff out. It can create to-do lists. It can create plans. It can, writing out bulk stuff, it can help you do that a lot faster. So for example, for an SOP, if I just write it out in a blurb, like, here's the process that goes this and this and this and this, can you turn this into a nice SOP? It'll write it all out. That's very easy for me to then copy and paste into my ClickUp, which is where I do my project management. We got that there. Beautiful. Otherwise, I would say ChatGPT, all in all, is not the most, it's not yet a complete game changer for your business. It's not gonna, you're not replacing staff with it yet, but it can do some cool things. It can help you add some leverage. It's not changing the world for you yet, but there's that. I use it just to kind of like an assistant, like, hey, write this out, formulate this, give me some ideas for this, and then I go from there. I still do all my copywriting myself because it can't replicate my style properly. But it can certainly help me get some good ideas or read through my stuff or help me create automations and stuff like that. Well, beautiful guys, we've been going for about an hour and a half now, which is longer than I expected. I thought we were going to go like 45, if that. So does anybody have final parting questions before I drop out of here? By the way, for you guys still here who are actually interested in learning about data and systems, join the community. In the description, there's a link, discord.gg/closer. It is a really excellent community. We host daily accountability calls. All of it's free. All of it's free for you guys to join. So it's a morning accountability call, 9:30 Central Time, 5:30 Central Time PM for the evening one. We hold trainings in there. We have a lot of resources. We have so many cool people in there, really high-level people, really high-level speakers. All of it's free. And the community is just, it's tight-knit. People really like each other in there, and they help each other get deals done. So you guys should definitely join into that. If you guys haven't, hop in there. There's no reason not to. No reason not to. All right. Guys, I think I'm going to call it. I don't see any other questions popping up in here. So I will bid you guys a fantastic rest of your Tuesday. I hope you guys crush it and have a really excellent week. I'm going to do some more lives here just like this, where I'm going to be covering high-level topics and just trying to dump as much value into you guys as possible. So if you guys love this stuff, drop a subscribe in the account so that way we can, you can get notified when we go live again. But thank you guys for being here. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for being a part of my day. And I will talk to you guys all very soon. If you guys are in the Discord, you guys will talk to me tonight. Peace. Love you guys.